Hi folks, welcome to the Inside Track, part two of our Royal Ascot special. Jim, it's been a great week so far. We've seen an absolute superstar in Field of Gold. They're talking about him being the best since Frankel. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I think they're quite right, Robert, to talk about him as being the best since Frankel. I know Baid would get a mention from quite a few people. That was a bit more recently. But no, Field of Gold. I mean, as you well know, I well fancied Henri Matisse to come on from his French Guineas win and maybe beat Field of Gold. But oh no, he was a great second, but he was a well beaten second. And Field of Gold won as he liked. Terrific ride from Colin Keane. Terrific, full of confidence ride from Colin Keane. And I think obviously having been on him at the Curragh, he knew exactly which buttons to press and exactly when. And the sky's the limit. It's a shame he's not going to go for the Eclipse. I think he'd be fine over a 1 1/4, but that might happen in the Champion Stakes later in the season. I think they're going to go for the Sussex. That'll tell us even more. And oh, he's a class act. He's without doubt, I think, the best since Frankel. And it'll just be interesting to see how the ratings increase as the season goes on.
Yeah, he was visually so impressive, and you actually got the impression he didn't idle a wee bit in front. He could have won
Yeah.
by further, couldn't he?
He really could have. And I mean, Ryan Moore rode the perfect race on the second. I didn't see many excuses in behind. I think ruling court's preparation for the Derby killed him. So I really think he's a class act. He's the outstanding racehorse of the moment in Europe, should we say? And let's just see how the season progresses.
Well, Tuesday was just absolutely fantastic. Obviously, American Affair, a horse we've talked about a lot over the
Yeah.
last 3 or 4 months. Got his grade one for Jim Goldie. Was absolutely fantastic. And the good thing is, the race actually was set up perfectly for him. We talked about it on Monday. It was set up perfectly for him. Paul Mulrennan gave it a great ride, knew exactly what he had under him. Everything just went to plan for Jim, didn't it?
It really did. I was delighted for Jim. The whole family was down there on Tuesday. Delighted for Paul Mulrennan. The pictures of Adele Mulrennan cheering him home were absolutely unbelievable. I know Adele as well. And it was a tremendous day all round. I mean, Paul Mulrennan gave it a perfect ride. As you say, the race panned out perfectly for him. And yes, it's all about facts and figures in racing, but I think we pointed out that you could safely ignore that Haydock run before I keep calling it the King Stand, the King Charles III. And that was proved to be correct. Jim Goldie and Paul Mulrennan both believed in this horse. They both thought it was still learning despite being 5 year old. I don't think he's peaked yet. He's gone and won a Group 1. I think he could add a couple before the end of the season. Yes, you could argue he's a horse that things need to fall right for him, but that's down to jockeyship as well. The jockey has to be in the right position for those things to fall right, and Mulrennan rides him well. Definitely unlucky at Haydock, proved his class at Ascot. And the only thing that disappointed me, I can't speak for Sky Sports because I wasn't watching that channel, but I thought ITV ignored him in the build-up. I think they were all over him because it was a great story afterwards, but they really ignored him in the build-up. And plucky little Jim Goldie from plucky little Uplaw Moor won a Group 1 at Royal Ascot. Wasn't that fantastic?
Oh, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And yesterday we had Los Angeles turned over. Back up and trip for him, do you think?
I think without a doubt, back up and trip for Los Angeles. The way that race panned out wasn't going to suit him. But I have to say, Robert, your tipping yesterday was absolutely off the scale. Some tremendous recommendations yesterday. Karmers, Ombudsman, My Cloud. I mean, you were on the ball yesterday. Absolutely superb. You've got a lot to live up to over the next 3 days.
Come on, Jim, you're embarrassing me here. They'll be getting the trumpet emoji out on Twitter.
Exactly.
But well, we'll have a look at today's racing, the Thursday. Don't think we'll get anything in the Norfolk. So we'll move on to the King George V Stakes, where you like serious contender, Jim.
Yeah, I'm very keen on this one. Horrible draw, drawn 21, absolutely horrible on the round course at Ascot, a mile and a half. But if anybody's going to overcome that draw, it'll be Ryan Moore. He's done it so often. Aidan O'Brien has three in the race. Sean Levy's on one called Propose. Wayne Lorden, don't rule him out, of course, is on one called Light as Air. But despite the draw, Ryan's on serious contender. Just look how long it is since he's run 81 days. I think he's been laid out for this. They think they've got a very good handicap mark. So do I. And without too much ado, and I'm hopeful that he would at least keep the play spot going if he doesn't win. But serious contender's the one for me. But you've got one further down.
I just quite fancy the chances of gunship in this, ridden by Oisin Murphy, who got a winner yesterday. His form with Epsom winner Warhawk at Newcastle, that was his. Warhawk's won twice
Yeah.
since. His only start on turf so far came when he was behind Sing Us a Song, whose chances you've got to respect in this race at Sandown. He's up £6 for his last win, but he beat Merchant, who's also quite fancy in this race, as a
Yeah.
2-year-old. So I just think 7 or 8 to 1. I think Gunship each way, and the Ferguson yard's in great form. I think they've got a 20% strike rate the last 2 weeks. So it's 7 or 8 to 1. I'm quite interested in Gunship each way.
Yeah, and I can see the argument for that. It's nice that we've got two going for us in the King George V handicap. You mentioned Oisin Murphy, so I'll get this out of the way early. He was on a horse yesterday which beat my 25 to 1 nap Snellen when it looked all over the winner, but never mind, we finished second. I hope a few back to each way. That was the nap in the paper. The Ribblesdale Stakes is the Group 2 for fillies at over a mile and a half at 3:40. You were all over Paddy Twomey and Billy Lee yesterday, and I'm all over Catalina Del Carpio today. Couldn't believe it got beaten last time, but having looked at it back, I still think it was an improved performance. I think she'll love the mile and a half. And having seen Billy Lee do the business yesterday, I'm very sweet on that one.
Yep, I totally agree with you there, Jim. And then we'll talk about the Gold Cup. I don't think either of us have got a bet in the Gold Cup. Obviously, Kyprios got retired in May, so he's not going to get the chance to do the three like Stradivarius did. Yates got four, so he's been denied that opportunity. We've got Illinois, who is an unsteady favourite at the moment. I noticed he's
Yeah.
swifter this morning. I mean, that form at Al Karim from Chester. Al Karim went and won at York last weekend. Was looking very short at 74. What price would he have to get to drift to before you would think back in him, or are you just not interested?
Well, I'm not interested at the moment, like you, at that price. But if he was to drift out to 5 to 2, or somebody was to give a special offer, a boost at 5 to 2, I might have a small amount on, but it's not a race I want to get heavily involved in. I do think Illinois is good enough to win. I know there's plenty of money around for Candellari, plenty of tips around rather for Candellari. A few people latching on to Mikel Barcelona, but I think Ryan Moore will have this tied up on Illinois. Although at the moment, like you, I'm not going to bet.
Yeah, all the money's for Trawlerman, who was
Yeah,
second last year. I mean, there's been a fairly big move on him this week, but I mean, he was a lot of people going into the week were thinking Trawlerman as an each way option was one of the solid bets, but that's long off the table now. So again, I'm with you. It's a watch and enjoy race. It's not one for me to get involved in, unless Illinois does drift
yeah.
to a silly price. So move on to the Britannia, 1 mile straight course, Jim. What have you got in that?
Yeah, I know you've got a couple against the field here, and quite rightly so, with so many runners. But I think with the draw at number 33, Roger Varian's horse to Room, we know that Varian's horses have been in really good form this week. He's proved that. Sylvester de Souza, I don't think anybody can beat him on that straight course at Ascot when he's got the right horse underneath him. Taroom is going for a four-timer. And the very fact I've said that means that the handicapper might be in charge, having won three in a row and going for a four. But I still think this horse has got some juice in his mark. He's drawn 33. Sylvester de Souza on the straight at Ascot. I'm just hoping for a half decent price that I might be able to save each way. To Room for me, number 8.
Yeah, I quite like Parole Doro. I think that's
Yeah,
maybe how you say it. Who we know likes fast ground. Won at Epsom and fast ground. Was second at Thirsk. Winner's gone in. Winner of that race has gone in again off 90.
that's
We
right.
oppose here. Parole Doro's £6 better off with the benefit of a run this time. So he's won at Ascot as well over 7 furlongs and a maiden. Few winners in behind that day. So he's one that will go forward as well. So I thought about 10 to 11 to 1, he was worth an each way bet. And then at a big price, I thought Arctic Grey's profile was quite interesting. He's 1-2-1 since he's been over a mile. Drawn right in the middle, so doesn't look to be a lot of pace in the middle, so he might just get to the front of that pack and maybe nick a place. So Arctic Grey and Parole Doro for me, both each way.
Nice one. That's the Britannia over a mile, over the straight mile. We then go back on the round course for the Hampton Court, the Group 3. And this is my Scottish Sunsport nap today, Robert. And funnily enough, the one that you fancy is my next best in the race. So I think we're both on the same lines here. I'm going for Arabian Court, number 2. Now, he's a big price. Snelling was a big price, drifted out to 25s yesterday. I actually think there might be a little bit of money later on for Arabian Force. It's a horse I was told to watch out for first time out, and he was slightly disappointing, but without backing him, I've then watched him in his next two races, and I've been really impressed with the way this horse has come on. The race he won last time, it looked a struggle, but then suddenly the runner-up came out and won really well at Sandown last week and just boosted that form and maybe suggested that Arabian Force was progressing as much as I hoped he was. He's up to 10 furlongs today. Tom Marquand in the saddle. We know that William Haggis has a really good handle on these 3-year-olds. And interestingly, he could have run on Saturday. And he's also got a couple of entries in big handicaps, including the John Smiths later in the season. So he could have gone for a handicap on Saturday. He goes for a Group 3. I think Haggis has had a look at this and thinks that it's a good opportunity for him. And Arabian Force at an each way price is the nap selection today. But the one I think's the danger is the one you fancy.
Yeah, just before we get into this, when the decks were made and the first prices came up, High Stock was favourite in this.
Yeah,
And I had a look at him. He's raced against 22 rivals, and none of them have won. I
yeah,
couldn't
that's right.
understand why he was in at 72 favourite. The market's corrected now. I think he's on the drift now. He certainly
Yeah,
was first thing this morning. But I just couldn't believe a horse. There'd been no winners. His races have come out and won, and he was put in at 72 favourite. So I like the shape of that race by a punting perspective because of
yeah,
that. And the one I've filmed in is Rienzi,
yeah,
who was actually first past the post, coming for last to first at the Curragh and got demoted to third, caused absolute
yeah,
chaos, barging into things and whatever. He had Shackleton well beat that day, although that one didn't run particularly well in the Queen's
yeah.
Vase.
Bit
That
disappointing.
performed in a wee bit. But visually, he was so impressive. If you just take out the barging and whatever, he was so impressive at the Curragh, coming for last to first. So drawn 8, I thought 18 to 1 last night was a huge price.
Yeah.
So I've had a bet on him each way.
Yeah, funnily enough, I backed him that night and he won, and I still get paid because you get paid both ways.
Mm.
But and that's why I think that Rienzi, as you pointed out, is the big danger to my selection here. I think he's going to run a huge race, and as you'll find out over the next 10 minutes or so, I fancy another couple of Johnny Murtas as the week goes on. And just, I know we're short of time today, but just one mention since you mentioned it. I thought yesterday the market corrected itself on so many occasions
Mm.
with so many horses that had been so short on the build-up, and the market really corrected itself. So I think when you've got so many horses running against each other, such huge fields, the market really does correct itself and gives you a true reflection of the actual prices. But that's all very boring. We move on to the Buckingham Palace over 7 furlongs at 6:10. And I know you're going to go put a couple up again here, but I'm very keen on last year's winner, English Oak, for Ed Walker. We know how well his horses are running. James Doyle, who was absolutely flying on Tuesday, maybe had a setback or two yesterday, especially with James McDonald riding a second string for his main employer, Wathnan, to victory. But English Oak for Ed Walker, cheek pieces on for the first time and back down to roundabout his winning mark. I thought he destroyed this field last year on ground he thought he wouldn't like. I think he gets that ground again today. And English Oak, the 5-year-old with the cheek pieces on in the Buckingham Palace, is the one for me. But yeah, you're coin canny in this one.
Well, I like too. Well, I don't. I'm interested in
Yeah,
inside winners for David O'Mara, who this is his first start since coming over for France. He was a winner at Compiègne last summer, the second of one since, the third's one since. First time in a handicap, first run for a new stable, and first run after a wind-up. I just thought it was interesting that they're bringing him to Royal Ascot to do these things where they could have run him elsewhere. Could be
yeah,
a social runner, but 33 to 1, I'm willing to pay a wee bit to
yeah,
find out. And the other one is for O'Mara again and Billy Lee. First time they've teamed up together. Acadian Thunder. Won at Doncaster 12 days ago, up £6 for that, but I still think 95 looks doable. High numbers have dominated this race. The last 6 out of the 7 winners have been drawn 24 or above, so still 29 looks good. Should get a good run into the race. So we're on the Billy Lee train this week, so we might as well keep going and keep backing him. So Acadian Thunder and Inside Matters for me.
Well, good luck, everybody. Today, we are going to move on to Friday. I don't think either of us are interested in the Albany Stakes to get started. That's not because it's not a great race, just nothing standing out for us at the moment. We'll see how that develops over the next 24 hours. But the Commonwealth Cup is going to be a big race for me, Robert. I know you've got one against me, but the horse I really fancy is a filly called Babouche, trained by Ger Lyons. It's going to be ridden by that man, Colin Keane. I thought it was a terrific price at 13 to 2, 6 to 1. I think it's now 11 to 2, 5 to 1. Might even be shorter come Friday morning's prices. But as we've just pointed out, the market is correcting itself. So hopefully it'll be a fair price. Babouche, already a Group 1 winner. I think that's key going for this Commonwealth Cup. A Group 1 race over 6 furlongs. Lyons, he's not overly keen on running horses in Britain for some reason, but he knows he's got a good filly here. He knows he's got his jockey back for this particular race because it is owned by Judd Monty. And come the paper on Friday, Robert, Babouche is going to be my nap. What do you think?
Well, I think you're spot on with that one. I like Babush as well. I just thought one of interest was the American one, She's So Spicy, who is owned by Qatar Racing, brought over
Yeah,
here. O'Sheen Murphy will ride, which I think is a big thing. When these Americans come over, now we saw it with Wesley Ward when they were rockets, they were coming, it was just a point and shoot job. That's kind of tapered off in the last few years. This one's won at Keeneland and Churchill Downs. I just like the fact they've got a British jockey on it,
yeah,
or a
yeah.
UK-based jockey on it. I just like that, and I thought at 25 to 1, if any of the Americans were going to win, it might be in this race over 6 furlongs, 3-year-old with Oisin Murphy on its back. So at 25 to 1, I thought that was a big price. So that's of interest without going bananas on it.
Good stuff. Well, that was the Commonwealth Cup, and I think I mentioned earlier I want to mention Johnny Murtagh again, and I think we're going to mention him twice here, and you're going to agree with me in the second one. But in the Duke of Edinburgh Stakes, the handicap over 1.5 miles for the older horses, the horse I really like here is Siege of Troy. It's a Murtagh trained horse. I think Oisin Murphy is going to be on board. It's a horse which I think has run 2 nice races. I think Johnny's had a big handicap in mind for it. And the clincher for me was first time cheek pieces, Siege of Troy, in a very open race at an each way price for Johnny Murtagh and Oisin Murphy. But he's got his own jockey back on in the King Edward VII Stakes. And I think, Robert, we're both going to agree on Zaran here.
Yes, rapidly improving. Another one that was ridden at the back and come for first to last. Leopardstown, a listed race earlier this month. It's got a fair bit to find on the figures, but with Convergent, Green Storm in the race, likely to go on, it'll get a lovely tone to the race. We know can bust through
Yeah.
and get his head in front. So I think Zaran, I'm totally with you on that one. The King Edward VII.
Yeah, it's a Group 2, but just looking through the field, it looks like a Group 3 to me, to be perfectly honest, with the way the fields ended up. And I think that's perfect for Zaran. He's certainly not a Group 1 horse at the moment, although Johnny has talked it up quite a bit in one or two of the previews. But Zaran, for me, again, hoping for a reasonable price. And in the Aga Khan colours, the late Aga Khan colours, that's the one we're both on in the King Edward VII Stakes at 5:35. I don't think we're going to bother ourselves with the Palace of Holyrood House, which rounds off that card. So let's get into Saturday, Robert.
Yeah, we'll move on to Saturday. And I always think with Royal Ascot, it gets harder and harder with every day that goes by. So a nice easy one, the Queen Elizabeth Jubilee Stakes over 6 furlongs. Now this one, Kadim winning at 80 to 1 and then 14 to 1 back to back. In this race, the winner used to be well found in the market for quite a few
Yeah,
years. There wasn't too many big prices won it, but Kadim kind of put an end to that. There's one about 16 to 1 that I quite fancy, which is Flora of Bermuda, who went head to head with Inisherin at York last month. She got £3 that day from him, gets £3 again here. Last 2 seasons, she's really stepped forward for her first run. So hopefully this being her second run of the season will bring a bit of more improvement out. I like the way she showed at York that day. She can just sit off the pace, burst through over these 6 furlongs. So Flora Bermuda, I think, is well worth a look, 16 to 1 each way.
yeah. Until you sent me that note, I wasn't really interested in Queen Elizabeth, but you make a great case, and I'm going to have a very close price at Flora Bermuda's price. Very close look at Flora Bermuda's price. Where, of course, we know that Andrew Balding's in terrific form as well. That's the Queen Elizabeth. The big handicap betting race of the day on Saturday, of course, is the Wokingham Stakes. Over that same 6 furlongs of the Queen Elizabeth, 175 grand in the pot. And the horse that I've been interested in for quite a few weeks now for this race is again another Willie Haggis runner. I mentioned him already for Thursday. Tom Marquand in the saddle. More Thunder. Now, interestingly, he was in the Hunt Cup as well. They took him out because they've decided to stick with 6 furlongs. Now, why was that a decision to make? Well, the reason for that is that he was trained by Sir Michael Stoute last year. And Sir Michael Stoute, who knows a thing or two about horses, was campaigning him at 10 furlongs. 10 furlongs. And he actually won at 10 furlongs. He was also placed at a decent level at 10 furlongs. But Willie Haggis has got hold of the horse now that Stoute's retired. He's turned him into a sprinter. And he turned him out first time out at Newmarket on slightly soft ground and he won. Came back to Newmarket, won again. He's up to 98 now, but they've protected that mark by avoiding one or two decent prizes that they could have gone for. And they've decided to wait for the Wokingham. Haggis and Marquand won the race last year with unequal love. They've won an Air Gold Cup, so they know what it is to win these big sprints as well. So More Thunder is the horse I've been waiting for quite some time. I made it my headline bet in Thursday's Inside Track column in the Scottish Sun. And again, I'm hoping for a very fair price on Saturday. Of course, it is a huge field and we're waiting for the draw. But More Thunder for me, Robert.
Well, we usually put a jumper up on these programs. This is the first week we're not going to do that. I think the 6 or 7 months we've been doing it, but we do have the meeting does close with another race for the jumps trainers, which is the Queen Alexander over 2 mile 5.5. We talked the other day about Willie Mullins and how these long distance races at Ascot he's been mustered in, and
Yeah,
his horses didn't run well at all the other day. But
no,
there's one of his in here again for ridden by Ryan Moore called Sober, which won a 2.5 mile novice hurdle at Killarney last month, and its
yeah,
first run for the stable coming out of France. It's got some really interesting back form on the flat in France. It was only beat a nose by Al Karim in a Group 2 at Longchamp in 2022. Won another Grade 2 over 2 mile at Deauville, another one at Longchamp. So he's got plenty of high class flat back form. So I think Sober will definitely be worth following for the Mullins and Moore partnership in the last.
yeah. It's got the Getting Out Stakes written all over it. Sober in the last for Mullins and Ryan Moore. It'll be fascinating to see, one, the declarations, and two, just what price they put that one in at on the day. Of course, there's a meeting at Ayr on Saturday, which I'll be working at, Robert. And we've got two big races down there. We've got a 50 grand listed race for the fillies. It's a twilight meeting, of course. We don't start till 4:10, so we don't clash with the main races at Ascot. Electric Storm for me, James Tate, Paul Mulrennan. Mulrennan's won 3 of the last 5 runnings of this Land of Burns Filly Stakes at 6:33. Electric Storm's form, you can read about it in the Inside Track column on Thursday's paper. It really is outstanding. The form has worked out outstandingly well. All ties in with American Affair and another horse which has come out of the Bath listed race that Electric Storm won at the start of the season. The form is outstanding. Mulrennan in the saddle. Electric Storm for me. And the other one I want to mention, I don't know yet if Holly Doyle's going to come up, but if she does come up, she's going to be on Westerton for Alan King. Alan loves winning a big race at Ayr. He won a Scottish champion hurdle a couple of years ago. He's got this horse, Westerton, which looks as though it's going to be suited by going up from 10 furlongs to 1 mile 5. Nicely handicapped. I don't think it's going to go down anymore, so this is probably the day for it to win off this handicap mark. And if Holly's in the saddle, I'd be even more hopeful. That's Westerton at 5:25 on Saturday.
Thanks very much, Jim. Great stuff. Good luck with your bets this weekend, folks.
Good luck, everyone, for the last 3 days.